Welcome. Tonight, we are going to leave the rush, the noise, and the endless demands of the modern world far behind us. You have found your way to a quiet place, a safe haven where time no longer hurries, where the clocks have slowed their frantic ticking, and where the only thing that matters is your own comfort. As you settle in, allow your eyes to gently close. There is nothing left for you to do today. There is nowhere else you need to be. The day is done, the night has arrived, and you are entirely safe. Take a slow, deep breath in, feeling the cool air fill your lungs, and as you exhale, let go of any tension you might be holding in your shoulders, in your neck, or in your jaw. Let your body sink heavier into whatever is supporting you, feeling the solid foundation beneath you, holding you up without any effort on your part. As your breathing finds a natural, easy rhythm, allow your mind to drift away from the present moment, floating backward through the years, carried on a gentle, cooling mist that sweeps across the vast and timeless ocean. We are travelling back to the early summer of the year 1912. You have just stepped out of the grand, brightly lit corridors of a magnificent transatlantic ocean liner and into the absolute privacy of your own first-class suite. It is midnight, and the ship is navigating smoothly through the deep, unfathomable waters of the open sea. You are entirely secluded, wrapped in a cocoon of unparalleled luxury and quiet isolation. The world outside your cabin door has faded away into a hushed silence, and the endless expanse of the midnight ocean stretches out for miles in every direction, acting as a vast, dark blanket that insulates you from everything else in existence. Here, in the very centre of this floating palace, you are perfectly secure. There is no weather to worry you, no sudden movements to startle you, only the majestic, unstoppable progress of the great ship as it carves its way through the calm summer waters. As you stand in the centre of your spacious suite, you become aware of the incredibly slow, incredibly gentle rocking of the vessel. The massive hull of the ship is being lifted and lowered by the long, rolling swells of the deep sea. It is a motion so grand, so deliberate, and so rhythmic that it feels entirely natural, like the deep, steady breathing of a sleeping giant. Up and down, side to side, the movement is barely perceptible, yet it is deeply soothing. It is a rocking motion that speaks to the oldest, quietest parts of your mind, reminding you of being cradled, of being held, of being perfectly protected from the world. With every slow rise of the ship, you feel a sense of lightness in your chest, and with every slow, gentle descent into the trough of the wave, you feel your body grow heavier, more relaxed, and more deeply grounded in the present moment. The rhythm is hypnotic, a slow-motion pendulum swinging back and forth, coaxing your nervous system to let go, to surrender to the lullaby of the sea. You listen closely to the sounds of the room, finding that the silence here is not empty, but rich and textured. The walls of your suite are clad in thick, heavy walnut panelling, polished to a dark, mirror-like shine. As the ship rolls ever so slightly on the ocean swells, the wood occasionally lets out a very faint, deeply muffled creak. It is a warm, organic sound, a reminder of the craftsmanship that surrounds you, the solid timber flexing and settling in harmony with the sea. The sound is never sharp, never sudden. It is just a gentle stretching of the wood, a quiet groan that blends seamlessly with the ambient atmosphere of the cabin. Far below you, separated by decks of thick steel, heavy carpets, and layers of insulation, the massive engines of the ocean liner are turning. You cannot hear the harsh mechanical clatter of the machinery. Instead, the sound has been filtered and softened until it is nothing more than a low-frequency hum, a deep, resonant vibration that you feel more than you hear. It is the heartbeat of the ship, a steady, unwavering drone that reassures you of the vessel's power and its safe, continuous journey through the night. The low hum vibrates softly through the soles of your feet, travelling up your legs and settling in your chest as a feeling of profound tranquility. You are dressed for the night, wearing a set of loose, flowing silk pyjamas. The fabric is incredibly soft against your skin, cool to the touch when you first move, but quickly warming to the temperature of your body. The silk drapes heavily over your limbs, creating no friction, offering no resistance, simply flowing like liquid over your shoulders and down your arms. As you walk slowly across the room, Your soft leather slippers sink deeply into the thick, plush wool carpet that covers the floor. Every step you take is entirely silent, the heavy fibres of the rug absorbing the weight of your footfalls, adding to the hushed, secluded atmosphere of the suite. The air in the room is perfectly still, maintained at a comfortable, cosy warmth that contrasts beautifully with the cool, dark night pressing against the thick glass of your porthole window. The scent of the cabin is a subtle, comforting blend of old, polished wood, clean cotton linens, and the very faint, crisp, salty tang of the ocean air that lingers perfectly in the background. You make your way toward a beautiful writing desk situated near the center of the room. The desk is a masterpiece of early 20th century design, crafted from rich, dark mahogany and edged with gleaming brass trim that catches the dim light. The surface of the desk is inset with a large, smooth pad of dark green leather, providing a perfect yielding surface for writing. You pull out the heavy wooden chair, its seat cushioned in soft tufted velvet, and you slowly sit down. As you settle into the chair, you feel the plush velvet compress beneath you, supporting your weight entirely. You rest your forearms on the cool, smooth leather of the desk, feeling the silk of your sleeves slide gently against the surface. Your shoulders drop an inch lower, your neck relaxes. The slow, rhythmic swaying of the ship continues to cradle you, moving your body just a fraction of an inch to the left, and then a fraction of an inch to the right, a constant, comforting reminder that you are floating, untethered from the solid earth, drifting peacefully through the night. The room is dimly lit, bathed in a soft atmospheric glow that is incredibly easy on your tired eyes. The primary source of illumination comes from a classic banker's lamp, resting heavily on the corner of the desk. The lamp features a solid, polished brass base that gleams warmly in the shadows, supporting a thick, elongated shade made of deep, emerald green glass. Beneath the green glass, a single incandescent bulb burns with a soft amber filament. The light it casts is not harsh or bright. It is a warm, golden pool of illumination that falls directly onto the green leather of the desk, leaving the rest of the spacious suite draped in soft velvety shadows. The green glass of the shade filters the light, giving it a calming, almost underwater quality, as if you were sitting in a quiet, glowing sanctuary at the bottom of the sea. You stare at the light for a moment, watching how it reflects off the polished brass edges of the desk, how it highlights the intricate grain of the mahogany, and how it makes the shadows in the corners of the room seem deep, soft, and inviting. The golden light feels warm against your face, relaxing the small muscles around your eyes, smoothing out your forehead, and encouraging your eyelids to droop just a little bit lower. Tonight, in this absolute stillness, you've decided to write a letter to your family waiting far away on the distant shore. There is no urgency to this task, no pressing deadline, no rush to communicate. It is simply a quiet, meditative activity to pass the midnight hours, a way to connect your peaceful present moment with the people you care about. Before you, resting within the pool of amber light, lies a stack of thick, luxurious parchment paper. The paper is heavy, cream-coloured, with a slightly textured surface that speaks of its high quality. You reach out and lightly run the pads of your fingers over the topmost sheet. You can feel the subtle grain of the paper, the microscopic ridges and valleys of the pressed fibres. It is a tactile sensation that grounds you, focusing your mind entirely on the small physical details of the present moment. Next to the paper sits a heavy glass inkwell, its faceted sides catching the light of the banker's lamp. The ink inside is a deep, rich midnight blue, almost black in the dim light, a pool of liquid shadow waiting to be drawn up. You pick up your fountain pen from the resting groove at the top of the desk. The pen is a beautiful instrument, perfectly balanced, with a barrel made of dark, polished resin that feels cool and smooth against your skin. The nib of the pen is crafted from solid gold, gleaming brightly as it catches the amber light from the lamp. You hold the pen loosely in your hand, feeling its satisfying weight, adjusting your grip until it rests perfectly between your fingers. Your hand feels entirely relaxed, your grip soft and effortless. You unscrew the cap of the inkwell, the slight friction of the threads making a tiny metallic whisper in the quiet room. You carefully dip the golden nib into the dark ink. You watch as the liquid clings to the metal, filling the tiny capillary channel with deep blue colour. You gently tap the nib against the inside rim of the glass to release any excess. A tiny, crystal-clear clink that rings out softly and then fades instantly back into the heavy silence of the cabin. You bring the pen to the top of the thick parchment. For a long moment, you simply hold it there, hovering just a fraction of an inch above the paper. You take another slow, deep breath, timing your inhalation with the upward swell of the ocean beneath the ship. The room rises gently. You hold your breath at the peak of the wave, and as the ship begins its long, slow descent down the other side of the swell, you exhale and you touch the golden nib to the paper. You begin to write. The words themselves do not matter. It is the physical act of writing that holds your attention, the beautiful rhythmic dance of the pen across the page. As the golden nib glides over the textured parchment, it produces a distinct, incredibly satisfying sound. It is a soft, rhythmic swish, 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 a gentle scratching noise that is both crisp and muffled at the same time. The sound fills the small bubble of light around the desk, becoming a hypnotic focal point for your mind. With every loop of a letter, every cross of a T, every sweep of a long curve, the pen whispers against the paper. Swish, scratch, glide. The deep blue ink flows smoothly, effortlessly from the nib, soaking instantly into the thick fibres of the paper, leaving behind a trail of glossy, wet words that slowly dry to a matte finish in the warmth of the lamp. You fall into a perfect, unbroken rhythm. Your hand moves smoothly from left to right, the pen dancing its quiet dance. You notice how your breathing has completely synchronized with the movement of your hand and the swaying of the ship. You inhale as you start a new line, the ship rising on a swell. You exhale as you reach the end of the line, the ship settling into the trough. The gentle creaking of the walnut panelling seems to respond to the scratching of your pen, a quiet conversation between the wood of the room and the gold of the nib. The low, distant hum of the engines provides a continuous, comforting bass line to this symphony of quiet sounds. You are completely absorbed in the sensory experience of writing. The cool smoothness of the pen, the slight resistance of the thick paper, the wet shine of the ink, the warm amber light, the hushed scratching sound, the rhythmic rocking of the floor beneath you. There is no past, there is no future. There is only this perfectly peaceful moment, suspended in time, floating in the middle of a dark and quiet ocean. The silence of the room seems to deepen around you. It wraps around your shoulders like a heavy, warm blanket. You feel your eyelids growing heavier with every line you write. The soft green-tinted light from the lamp is beginning to blur around the edges, the sharp lines of the brass desk melting into the soft shadows of the room. Your hand continues to move almost of its own accord, the muscle memory guiding the pen, the swish and scratch becoming softer, slower, more drawn out. You are not forcing the words, you are simply letting them flow, emptying your mind onto the page, transferring any remaining thoughts or lingering energy out of your body and into the deep blue ink. As your mind empties, your body feels even heavier, sinking deeper into the velvet chair, perfectly supported, perfectly relaxed. The ocean outside continues its endless rolling motion, a vast and powerful force that is entirely dedicated to rocking you to sleep. You can almost feel the cold, dark water pressing against the thick steel hull, a million miles of ocean keeping the noisy, demanding world far, far away from your sanctuary. Slowly, gently, you bring your letter to a close. You finish the final word with a long, sweeping stroke of the golden nib, the pen letting out one last, soft sigh against the parchment. You lift the pen away from the paper, breaking the connection, and carefully lay it back into its resting groove on the desk. You reach out and quietly screw the cap back onto the heavy glass inkwell. The metallic threads engage, sealing the ink away. The physical act of writing is finished, and a profound sense of completion and peace washes over you. You look down at the page, the deep blue ink now dry, the elegant script covering the cream-coloured paper, a testament to this quiet hour in the middle of the sea. Your movements become even slower now, as if the air in the room has thickened, turning into a warm, invisible syrup that slows your limbs and softens your actions. You pick up the thick sheet of parchment and gently begin to fold it. You bring the bottom edge up to the top, aligning the corners with deliberate care. You press your thumb along the bottom edge, creating a sharp, crisp crease. The sound of the heavy paper folding is distinct, a dry, satisfying rustle that cuts softly through the hum of the engines. You fold the paper once more, creating a neat rectangular packet, the perfect size for a heavy cream-coloured envelope. You slide the folded letter into the envelope, the paper gliding smoothly against paper, and you tuck the pointed flap down. Now, you reach toward the corner of the desk, where a small brass candle holder sits in the shadows. Resting in the holder is a short, thick candle made of natural beeswax. Beside it lies a long, slender wooden match. You pick up the match, feeling the rough texture of the wood between your fingers. You strike the match against the abrasive strip on the side of the small matchbox. There is a sudden, soft hiss, a tiny flare of orange light, and the sharp, fleeting scent of sulphur that quickly burns away, replaced by the warm, honeyed aroma of the beeswax. You touch the flame to the wick of the candle. The wick catches immediately, a bright teardrop-shaped flame springing to life, casting a new, flickering golden light that dances across the polished mahogany and the green leather of the desk. You gently blow out the match, a tiny wisp of grey smoke curling upward and vanishing into the warm air. From a small wooden compartment on the desk, you retrieve a stick of sealing wax. The wax is a deep, rich crimson red, smooth and hard to the touch. You hold the stick of wax between your thumb and forefinger, bringing the tip of it close to the flame of the beeswax candle. You do not touch the wax directly to the fire. You simply hold it near the heat, watching closely as the physical state of the material begins to change. The hard, dull surface of the crimson wax begins to shine as it absorbs the heat. The edges begin to soften, to round out, melting slowly under the steady warmth of the candle. You rotate the stick slowly, ensuring the heat is applied evenly, watching the solid red stick transform into a thick, glossy liquid. The glow of the candle flame reflects in the melting wax, a tiny bright speck of light trapped in the crimson pool. The heat of the candle is warm against your knuckles, a comforting, radiant warmth that travels up your arm and relaxes the muscles in your shoulder. Your eyes are half closed now, hypnotized by the slow, mesmerizing process of the melting wax, the flickering of the small flame, and the constant rhythmic, side-to-side swaying of the great ship beneath you. The world has shrunk down to just this desk, just this light, just this simple, quiet action. When the tip of the wax stick is thoroughly softened, a heavy, molten bead gathers at the very end, swelling and trembling, ready to fall. You move your hand, positioning the melting wax directly over the pointed flap of the cream-coloured envelope. You wait. A second passes. 2 seconds. And then, the heavy bead of crimson wax detaches from the stick. It falls through the air and lands on the thick paper with a soft, incredibly satisfying plop. It is a heavy, wet sound, a tiny impact that signifies finality, closure, and the end of the day's tasks. You twist the stick of wax to break the thin, hair-like string of molten liquid, and you set the red stick aside. Before the pool of red wax on the envelope can cool and harden, you pick up a heavy, solid brass seal from the desk. The brass feels wonderfully cool and heavy in your palm. You position the flat, engraved bottom of the seal directly over the center of the liquid crimson pool. With a slow, deliberate downward motion, you press the brass seal into the hot wax. You feel the slight resistance of the thick liquid as it spreads outward under the pressure of the metal, forming a perfect, raised rim around the edges of the heavy brass. You hold the seal there for a long moment, applying a steady, gentle pressure, allowing the cool metal to draw the heat out of the wax, setting the seal in place. The room is so quiet that you can almost hear the microscopic sound of the wax cooling, hardening and shrinking ever so slightly against the paper. You gently rock the brass seal side to side, breaking the suction, and lift it away. Left behind on the cream-coloured envelope is a perfect glossy crimson seal, a beautiful raised emblem that secures the letter within. The task is completely finished. The letter is written, folded, and sealed. There is absolutely nothing left for you to do. You lean back slowly into the deep velvet upholstery of your chair. You let your hands fall limply into your lap, the silk of your pajamas sliding smoothly against itself. The muscles in your arms are entirely loose, heavy, and devoid of all tension. You look at the soft, amber light spilling from beneath the green glass shade of the banker's lamp, but you do not focus on it. You let your vision blur, the light expanding into a soft, hazy glow that fills the edges of your sight. The flickering flame of the beeswax candle dances lazily in the corner of your eye, casting long, slow-moving shadows across the heavy walnut panelling of the suite. The ship continues its endless journey through the night, carried by the deep, powerful currents of the Atlantic. The slow, rhythmic rising and falling of the deck beneath you feels more pronounced now, as your body becomes completely relaxed and entirely attuned to the motion of the sea. Up, so slowly, lifting you toward the dark sky, and down, so gently, lowering you into the comforting embrace of the water. The muffled, low-frequency hum of the massive engines far below beats like a slow, steady heart, a constant vibration that soothes your nervous system and lulls your conscious mind toward the edge of sleep. The occasional hushed creak of the polished wood reminds you that you are held safe within the strong protective walls of this floating sanctuary. Your breathing is slow, deep, and perfectly even. With every exhalation, you sink deeper into the chair, your body feeling impossibly heavy, melting into the velvet cushions. The air in the cabin is warm, still and fragrant, with the lingering scent of melting beeswax and the faint, salty memory of the ocean. The heavy wool carpet beneath your feet, the cool silk against your skin, the warm light on your face. Every sensation is a gentle weight, pressing you softly down into a state of profound, undisturbed rest. The light from the lamp seems to grow dimmer, softer, as your heavy eyelids slowly flutter shut. You do not fight them. You allow your eyes to close completely, shutting out the amber glow, the polished mahogany, the crimson wax. The visual world disappears, leaving only the gentle rocking motion of the ship, the deep resonant hum of the engines, and the soft rhythmic sound of your own slow breathing. You are drifting now, untethered, floating on a calm, dark sea of tranquility. The ocean outside your window stretches on forever, a vast protective barrier between you and the waking world. The waves roll on, endless and rhythmic, carrying you further and further away from the shore, deeper and deeper into the quiet, peaceful depths of the night. Your mind empties of all thought, leaving only the sensation of movement, the slow, majestic sway of the great ocean liner cradling you in the dark. You are perfectly safe. You are perfectly warm. You are completely at peace. The gentle rocking continues, a timeless, endless lullaby, guiding you down, down, into a deep, dreamless, and restorative slumber. The sound of the engines hums, the wood softly creaks, the ocean rises, and the ocean falls, taking you with it, into the quiet, into the dark, into sleep. The golden nib of your fountain pen continues its slow rhythmic dance across the cream-coloured expanse of the parchment, each stroke creating a tiny melodic vibration that travels up through your fingers and into your wrist, a gentle reminder of the tangible world in this sanctuary of wood and silk. You find yourself pausing for a moment, the pen hovering just a fraction of an inch above the paper as you watch a single drop of midnight blue ink catch the soft emerald glow of the banker's lamp, glistening like a fallen star before it settles into the thirsty fibres of the page. The silence of the suite is not a hollow thing, but rather a rich, textured tapestry woven from the most delicate threads of sound, where the muffled thrum of the ship's distant heart beats in perfect synchronicity with your own pulse. And the heavy velvet curtains, dyed a deep regal crimson that looks almost black in the shadows, sway with a movement so infinitesimal it is more felt than seen. As you sit there, the weight of the silk pyjamas against your skin feels like a cool, fluid embrace, the fabric sliding effortlessly with every breath you take, and you realize how perfectly still the air has become, scented faintly with the aristocratic aroma of beeswax polish, dried lavender from a small sachet tucked into a drawer, and the very faint, clean, ozonic tang of the Atlantic Ocean creeping in through the sealed porthole. The world outside, the vast and churning North Atlantic of 1912, feels like a dream from another life, a distant memory that has no place within these four walls of polished walnut and burnished brass, because here time has ceased its frantic march and has instead dissolved into a slow, syrupy crawl. You can feel the massive weight of the vessel beneath you, thousands of tons of steel and luxury gliding through the deep dark water, with a grace that defies its size, and the way the floor beneath your feet tilts ever so slightly, a long, slow incline followed by a soft, lingering descent, reminds you of a giant's cradle being rocked by the hand of the moon herself. Your eyes wander from the half-finished letter to the green glass shade of the lamp, noting the way the light pools on the surface of the mahogany desk, illuminating the intricate grain of the wood which twists and turns like a frozen river of amber and chocolate. You reach out, your movements deliberate and unhurried, to touch the cool brass base of the lamp, feeling the solidity of the metal, the way it has retained just a hint of the room's warmth. And you find comfort in the permanence of these objects, the craftsmanship that went into every join and every screw. There is no rush to finish the letter, no deadline to meet, only the endless stretching expanse of the midnight hour and the knowledge that you are safe, cocooned in a floating palace that was built specifically to keep the world at bay. You watch a small plume of steam rise from the porcelain teacup sitting at the edge of your desk, the vapour curling and twisting in the green light, like a ghostly dancer, disappearing into the shadows of the ceiling where the ornate plaster mouldings create a landscape of soft valleys and darkened peaks. The pen moves again, beginning a new paragraph, and the sound of the nib on the paper is like the whisper of dry leaves in an autumn garden, a shh sound that seems to be telling you to let go of your thoughts, to allow them to drift away like the wake of the ship behind you. You write of the peace you have found here, of the way the moonlight looked earlier in the evening as it shattered against the crests of the waves. But as you write, the words begin to stretch out, the loops of the letters becoming wider and softer, reflecting the loosening of the tension in your shoulders. Your breathing has become deep and abdominal, a slow rise and fall that mirrors the heave of the ocean, and you notice that the slight creak of the walnut panelling has become a familiar friend, a rhythmic punctuation mark in the story of your night that says everything is exactly as it should be. You lean back slightly in the upholstered chair, the plush fabric supporting your spine with a firm yet yielding pressure, and you let your gaze drift toward the shadows in the corner of the room where a tall wardrobe stands, its mirrored door reflecting the flickering light of a single candle you lit earlier. The flame of that candle is a tiny, vibrant spear of gold, dancing a slow waltz with a draft that isn't there, and as you watch it, your eyelids feel as though they are being weighted down by invisible grains of fine, warm sand. The light casts long, elongated shadows across the Persian rug, making the intricate floral patterns appear to move and breathe, the deep blues and earthy reds of the wall blending together into a soft visual hum that lulls your senses into a state of blissful neutrality. The low-frequency hum of the engines, which you had almost forgotten, rises back into your consciousness, not as a noise, but as a physical sensation, a gentle vibration that starts at the soles of your feet and travels through the chair, massaging the base of your skull with a persistent, numbing kindness. It is the sound of progress, the sound of safety, the sound of 1,000 people sleeping peacefully above and below you, all held within this massive, iron hull that parts the sea like a hot knife through butter. You think about the depth of the water beneath the keel, miles of silent, pressured darkness where the fish move in slow motion, and the contrast between that cold, immense void and the warm, glowing intimacy of your cabin makes the silk of your sleeves feel even softer, the light of the lamp even more protective. You pick up the small stick of red sealing wax, feeling its smooth, matte texture against your thumb, and you hold it near the candle flame, watching with a detached fascination as the hard edge begins to soften and lose its shape. A single drop of wax, thick and brilliant like a ruby, begins to form at the tip, hanging there for a heartbeat, trembling with the weight of its own existence before it falls. Plip. The sound is tiny, almost non-existent, yet, in the absolute silence of the cabin, it rings out like a soft bell, signalling the end of your labours for the night. You press your signet ring into the cooling wax, feeling the resistance of the material as it takes the impression, and the smell of singed wax, a dry, smoky, ancient scent, rises up to meet you, mingling with the lavender and the wood to create a fragrance that is the very essence of 1912, the essence of a world that is calm, ordered, and profoundly at rest. As the seal hardens, you realize that you no longer have the desire to move, to stand up, or even to blow out the lamp. You simply want to exist in this moment of perfect, suspended animation, where the rocking of the ship has become your entire universe. Your chin dips slightly toward your chest, and then lifts, and then dips again, a slow nodding that is the body's way of surrendering to the inevitable pull of the deep. The sha-sha sound of the pen is gone now, replaced by the rhythmic hiss of the sea against the hull far below, a sound that is like 1,000 silk ribbons being drawn over a smooth stone, endless and unchanging. You are a passenger on a journey that has no end in this moment, a traveller in the land of shadows and soft edges, where the light is always green and gold, and the bed with its crisp linen sheets and heavy down comforter is waiting just a few steps away. A white cloud in the dimness of the suite. The heaviness in your limbs is a pleasant thing, a feeling of being grounded and secure, as if you are becoming a part of the ship itself, a part of the walnut and the brass and the velvet. You watch the green glass shade of the lamp and imagine you are looking through the surface of the sea into a sunlit grotto, a place of emerald peace, where the currents are warm and the light never fades, only dims into a soft, watery twilight. Your thoughts are no longer sentences, they are images, fragments of colour, the curve of a wave, the glint of a star, the way the silk feels against your collarbone. The slow, rhythmic swaying of the room increases in its hypnotic power, a pendulum that swings between the waking world and the world of dreams. And with every swing, you find yourself leaning further into the darkness, further into the silence. The letter is finished, the wax is cold, and the pen is capped. But you remain there for a moment longer, your hands resting on the cool mahogany, listening to the ship breathe. It is a slow, mechanical breath, a sigh of steam and a groan of iron that tells you the engines are tireless, the lookouts are vigilant, and the ocean is vast but kind. You feel a profound sense of gratitude for this solitude, for this private world where you are the only inhabitant, protected by layers of steel and luxury from the cold winds of the Atlantic. The banker's lamp continues to cast its green glow, but even that light seems to be growing softer, the edges of the room blurring as your vision loses its focus, the sharp lines of the furniture softening into hazy, comforting shapes. You eventually rise from the chair, but the movement is so slow it's like a plant turning toward the sun, and you find yourself moving toward the bed, not by an act of will, but by the natural pull of exhaustion. The carpet beneath your feet is thick and springy, swallowing the sound of your footsteps, so that you move like a ghost through your own suite, a silent observer of your own descent into slumber. As you reach the bed, you pull back the heavy duvet, and the scent of fresh, sun-dried cotton rises up to greet you, a clean and neutralizing scent that clears the last of the ink and wax from your mind. You slide into the bed, and the mattress conforms to your shape instantly, supporting you in a way that makes you feel weightless, as if you are floating on the surface of the water rather than lying in a room. The ship gives a long, slow roll to the port side, and you feel yourself gently pressed into the mattress, and then a long, slow roll back to the starboard side, a movement that is so large and so slow that it feels like the earth itself is breathing. You close your eyes, and the green light of the lamp is replaced by the velvet darkness of your eyelids, a darkness that is warm and welcoming, filled with the fading echoes of the ship's internal life. The creak of the wood, the thrum of the engine, the hiss of the sea, they all begin to merge into a single, monochromatic drone, a white noise that wraps around your consciousness like a thick, woolen blanket, insulating you from the very idea of a world outside. You are here, you are safe, you are drifting on a sea of silk and mahogany, moving toward a horizon that is nothing but peace, nothing but the deep restorative dark of the midnight ocean. The rhythm of the water becomes your heartbeat, and the heartbeat of the ship becomes your breath, and as you sink deeper into the pillows, you feel the last remnants of the day, the ink, the paper, the words, the people, all falling away, sinking down into the depths like stones dropped into a well, leaving the surface of your mind perfectly still, perfectly glass-like, reflecting only the vast and silent stars of the inner sky. You are no longer writing the story. You are being written into the silence of the night, a single, quiet character in the grand, slumbering epic of the sea. The 1912 night is long, and the path across the Atlantic is wide. But for you, the journey has already reached its most beautiful destination, the quiet, dark centre of a perfect sleep, where the only sound is the eternal, rhythmic shh of the waves, promising that tomorrow is a long way off, and tonight is forever. The hour is late, and the world you have left behind has faded into a distant, quiet memory, replaced entirely by the vast, velvet expanse of the midnight ocean. You are safe here, perfectly cocooned within the heart of a magnificent vessel, a floating palace of iron and wood that glides effortlessly through the dark, uncharted waters of the early summer Atlantic in the year 1912. Outside your window, the world is nothing but a boundless stretch of deep indigo and the silver reflection of a solitary moon. But inside, you are sheltered, warm, and entirely at peace. There is nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to do, and absolutely no one who will ask anything of you tonight. You have retreated into the private sanctuary of your first-class suite, a room designed to be a fortress of comfort against the endless horizon, a place where time itself seems to slow down, stretching into long, languid moments of pure, uninterrupted calm. As you settle into the quiet solitude of your cabin, you can feel the gentle, rhythmic motion of the great ship beneath you. It is a slow, methodical rise and fall, a continuous, swaying cradle created by the endless march of the ocean waves. Up and down, side to side, the movement is so subtle, so profoundly graceful, that it feels less like travel and more like the deep, steady breathing of a sleeping giant. With every slow ascent of the bow, you feel a gentle lightness in your chest, and with every long, sweeping descent, you feel your shoulders drop, your muscles unwind, and your body sink just a little deeper into the plush, velvet-upholstered armchair beneath you. The rhythm of the sea begins to synchronize with the rhythm of your own breathing, coaxing your lungs to expand slowly and release even more slowly, until the air flows in and out of you like the gentle tide slipping against a quiet shore. You are entirely safe, held securely in the warm embrace of this beautiful room, wrapped in the soft, frictionless luxury of your silk pajamas, which drape over your resting limbs like a whispered promise of the deep sleep that is soon to come. The suite around you is a masterpiece of quiet elegance, bathed in the soft amber glow of a single green glass banker's lamp that sits upon your writing desk. The light is heavily muted, filtered through the thick emerald glass shade, so that it pools only on the polished brass edges of the desk and the pristine surface of your writing paper, leaving the rest of the room to rest in a comfortable, drowsy twilight. In the dimness, the heavy walnut panelling that lines the walls of your cabin takes on the rich, dark hue of melted chocolate, its intricate burls and swirling grain barely visible in the shadows. As the ship rolls gently on the long ocean swells, the wood speaks in a language of soft, muted whispers. It is a comforting sound, a barely perceptible creak and sigh of the thick timber flexing and settling, a reminder of the immense strength and careful craftsmanship that surrounds you, keeping the chill of the midnight sea far at bay. Beneath the creak of the walnut, woven so deeply into the fabric of the night that you almost have to search for it, is the sound of the ship's massive engines. They are located far below, deep within the iron belly of the vessel, separated from your sanctuary by countless decks of steel and carpet and wood. By the time their power reaches your quiet room, the roar of the furnaces and the churning of the great pistons have been softened into a low resonant hum. It is a continuous, deep-frequency vibration, a steady, unwavering purr that you feel more than you hear. It travels up through the thick wool rug beneath your slippers, spirals gently up the wooden legs of your desk, and hums softly against the palms of your resting hands. It is the heartbeat of the ship, a constant, reassuring presence that tells you all is well, all is functioning perfectly, and you are moving steadily forward, through the night, while you remain completely still. You sit at the writing desk, your posture relaxed, your spine completely unspooled from the tensions of the day. The brass inlay of the desk feels cool and solid beneath your fingertips, a grounding anchor in the gently swaying room. Before you lies a sheet of thick cream-coloured parchment, its surface heavy and textured, waiting patiently in the pool of emerald light. You reach out, your movements incredibly slow, incredibly deliberate, and pick up your fountain pen. It is a beautiful instrument, heavy and balanced in your hand, crafted from polished black resin and gleaming gold. The metal warms quickly against your skin, becoming an extension of your own hand. You unscrew the cap, the threads turning with a soft, satisfying glide, and set it gently aside on the leather blotter. The gold nib catches a single sharp reflection from the lamp, a tiny star of light in the dim room. You take a slow, deep breath, letting the cool, clean air of the cabin fill your lungs, carrying with it the faint, comforting sense of polished wood, old paper, and the subtle, salty tang of the ocean air that slips in through the ventilation vents. As you exhale, you let the pen meet the paper. The sensation is exquisite. The gold nib glides across the thick parchment with a smooth, buttery resistance, laying down a wet, glistening ribbon of dark blue-black ink. The sound of the writing fills the quiet space around you, a soft, rhythmic scratching that is immensely satisfying. Scratch, scratch, hush. A loop, a line, a gentle curve. The sound is a meditation in itself, a repetitive, soothing whisper that focuses your mind entirely on the present moment, drawing your thoughts away from the vastness of the ocean and the passing of time, shrinking your entire universe down to the small, illuminated square of paper and the steady flow of the ink. You are writing a letter to those you love, far away on a distant shore, but the words themselves matter less than the act of writing. The slow, looping cursive flows from the pen as easily as water over a smooth stone. With every word you form, you pour a little more of your waking energy onto the page, emptying your mind of thoughts, leaving behind only a profound, echoing stillness. You watch the ink as it settles into the fibres of the parchment, changing slowly from a wet, reflective pool to a dark, matte finish, a permanent record of a quiet moment, suspended in time. The ship rolls again, a long, slow tilt to the left. And you pause, lifting the pen, letting your body sway naturally. With the movement of the vessel, you feel the gentle pressure of the chair against your back, the soft support of the armrests beneath your elbows. You are perfectly balanced, perfectly secure. Your eyelids are growing heavy, pulled downward by a comfortable, overwhelming gravity. The soft green light of the lamp seems to blur slightly at the edges, the shadows in the corners of the room stretching and softening as your vision relaxes. You write another line, the pen tracing familiar shapes, the sound of the nib on the paper, a lullaby that matches the distant muffled hum of the engines. Scratch, scratch, hush. The rhythm of the ocean, the rhythm of the engines, the rhythm of the engines, the rhythm of your breath, and the rhythm of the pen all merge into a single hypnotic symphony of deep, unparalleled relaxation. Every muscle in your neck, your shoulders, your arms, and your hands feels loose and heavy, completely devoid of tension. You have written all that needs to be written. The thoughts have ceased, replaced by a quiet, contented emptiness. Slowly, you place the fountain pen down upon the leather blotter. The small click of the resin against the leather is a gentle punctuation mark in the quiet room. You reach out with both hands, your fingers brushing against the rough, satisfying texture of the parchment, and you begin to fold the letter. You bring the bottom edge up to meet the top, pressing the crease flat with the side of your thumb. The sound of the thick paper folding is crisp but muted, a soft, papery sigh that rustles gently in the stillness. You fold it once more, creating a neat, heavy rectangle, a tangible piece of this quiet night folded in on itself. You set the folded letter down in the center of the desk, directly beneath the warm circle of light. Now your gaze drifts to the small, silver candle holder resting near the edge of the desk. In it sits a short, thick candle of white beeswax, its wick blackened from previous use. Beside it lies a long wooden matchbook. Your movements are incredibly slow now, almost dreamlike, as you reach for a single match. You strike it against the rough strip of the box. There is a brief, sharp hiss, a sudden flare of bright yellow light, and the sharp, fleeting scent of sulphur that quickly gives way to the warm, sweet aroma of burning wood. You guide the flame to the wick of the candle. The fire catches eagerly, dancing for a moment before settling into a steady, teardrop-shaped glow. You blow out the match, a tiny wisp of grey smoke curling upward, twisting and fading into the shadows near the ceiling. The candlelight adds a new layer of warmth to the room, a flickering, living light that casts long, gentle shadows across the walnut panels. The shadows sway in perfect time with the slow rolling of the ship, a silent, hypnotic dance that makes the room feel even cozier, even more insulated from the dark ocean outside. You pick up a stick of deep red sealing wax. It is cool and hard, smooth under your thumb. You hold the tip of the wax stick just above the candle flame, not quite touching the fire, but close enough to let the heat do its slow, transformative work. You watch, your eyes half closed, perfectly mesmerized by the process. The hard, brittle edge of the red wax begins to soften. The heat embraces it, melting the surface, turning the dull crimson into a brilliant, glossy, liquid ruby. The smell of the melting wax drifts up to you, a rich, resinous scent mixed with the sweet beeswax of the candle. A fragrance that is ancient and deeply comforting. It smells of quiet libraries, of old secrets, of time standing perfectly still. The wax softens further, gathering into a heavy, pendulous drop at the end of the stick. You wait, breathing slowly, watching the liquid ruby swell, holding its shape by sheer surface tension, growing heavier and heavier until it can no longer hold on. You move the stick over the center of your folded letter. The ship rises slowly on a gentle wave, a long sweeping motion that seems to suspend you in mid-air, and in that moment of weightlessness, the drop of hot wax falls. It lands on the thick parchment with a soft, incredibly satisfying tap, a sound so small yet so distinct in the quiet room. You lower the stick and let another drop fall. Tap, and another tap. The red wax pools on the paper, thick and hot and glossy, spreading into a perfect, circular puddle of liquid colour. You set the stick of wax aside, resting it on a small brass tray, and pick up your heavy brass seal. It is cold to the touch, a stark contrast to the heat of the wax. You position the seal directly over the centre of the red pool. With a slow, deliberate motion, you press the cold brass down into the hot wax. The wax yields instantly, squishing outward around the edges of the metal in a satisfying, even ring. You hold the seal there, applying a gentle, steady pressure, feeling the heat transfer from the wax into the metal, feeling the quiet permanence of the act. You sit completely still, letting the wax cool, letting the ship rock you, letting the distant hum of the engines vibrate softly against the soles of your feet. The seconds stretch out, long and elastic. The air in the cabin is so warm, so perfectly still, that you feel as though you are wrapped in a heavy, invisible blanket. When you finally lift the brass seal away, It releases with a faint, soft snick. Left behind on the paper is a perfect raised impression, a beautiful crest set into the hardened red wax, catching the dual light of the green lamp and the flickering candle. The letter is finished. The work of the day is entirely done. There is absolutely nothing left to accomplish, nothing left to think about, nothing left to do but surrender to the overwhelming peaceful heaviness that has settled over your entire body. You reach out and turn the small brass switch on the base of the banker's lamp. With a soft click, the green light vanishes, plunging the desk into a deeper, softer darkness, illuminated only by the warm, swaying glow of the single candle and the pale, ghostly light of the moon filtering through the porthole glass. The shadows grow longer, softer, wrapping around the edges of the room, turning the walnut walls into a seamless, dark cocoon. You lean back in your chair, letting your head rest against the plush velvet, your hands falling limply into your lap. Your breathing is so slow now, so deep and even, that you can barely feel the rise and fall of your own chest. The ocean outside is an endless, rocking cradle. The ship rises slowly, steadily, lifting you up toward the stars, and then it falls, a long, gentle descent that pulls you deeper into the softness of the chair, deeper into the warmth of the room, deeper into the quiet sanctuary of your own mind. The muffled low-frequency hum of the engines is a lullaby, a constant soothing drone that washes over you, smoothing away any remaining edges of thought, blurring the lines between wakefulness and dreams. Your eyelids are completely closed now, too heavy to lift, too relaxed to even try. Behind your closed eyes, you see the soft residual glow of the candle flame, a warm golden haze that slowly fades into a deep, comforting blackness. You can hear the faint, muffled sound of the waves parting at the bow of the ship, a soft, rushing whisper of water that sounds like a long, drawn-out exhalation. Hush, hush. The sound washes over the hull, wrapping the ship in a blanket of white noise, an endless, repetitive rhythm that commands you to let go, to drift, to sleep. You feel the silk of your pajamas resting feather-light against your skin. You feel the heavy, grounding weight of the ship moving through the water. You feel the absolute safety of the iron hull, the absolute warmth of the cabin, the absolute warmth of the cabin, the absolute stillness of the night. Every fibre of your being is relaxed, untethered, floating free. Your mind is a calm, unruffled pool, reflecting nothing but the quiet darkness. The ship tilts again, a microscopic degree to the right, a slow, majestic roll that feels like a gentle hand rocking a cradle. You sink deeper. The air in the room is heavy with the scent of cooled beeswax and old paper, a sleepy, nostalgic perfume that settles over you like a warm quilt. The distant engines hum their low, eternal note. The heavy walnut panels sigh their soft, creaking song. The ocean whispers its endless, rushing secret. There is no tomorrow, there is no yesterday. There is only this long, perfect moment of absolute peace. You are drifting now, drifting away from the desk, away from the cabin, away from the ship itself, floating out onto the surface of the dark, quiet ocean, carried by the gentle swells, cradled by the deep, rhythmic breathing of the water. The sounds around you begin to fade, growing softer and softer, pulling further and further away until they are nothing but a faint, comforting echo at the very edge of your awareness. The low hum of the engines, the soft creak of the wood, the rushing sigh of the waves. They blend together, a symphony of sleep, a chorus of calm, guiding you down, 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 into the deepest, most restful slumber. Your body is weightless, your mind is perfectly clear, your heart beats in slow, steady time, with the gentle rocking of the great ship. You are safe. You are warm. You are entirely at peace. As the final flickering light of the candle casts its long, slow shadows across the room, you let go completely. The darkness rises to meet you, soft and welcoming, a vast, velvety embrace that holds you perfectly still. The ship sails on through the night, a solitary point of warmth in the endless ocean, carrying you safely through the dark while you drift deeper and deeper and deeper into sleep. The rhythm of the water is your breath. The hum of the engine is your heartbeat. The quiet of the room is your mind. Nothing but the slow, gentle rise. Nothing but the long, soft fall. Over and over, an endless, soothing cycle. Up into the quiet night, down into the quiet night, down into the deep, heavy warmth. The world is far away. The night is yours, and the sleep that takes you is profound, uninterrupted, and perfectly, beautifully still. You are completely surrendered to the rocking, completely enveloped in the quiet, completely lost in the quiet, completely lost in the profound, heavy comfort of the deep, dark sea. Drift, settle, breathe. The vast ocean holds you, the great ship protects you, and the quiet night welcomes you into the deepest rest you have ever known. The long, slow sway, the soft, distant hum, the perfectly silent room. Let it all wash over you. Let it all carry you away, into the quiet, into the dark, into the dark, into the peace. The night is deepening now, stretching out across the Atlantic like a vast velvet canopy, and as you sit within the hushed sanctuary of your suite, the world outside the heavy steel hull feels like a distant memory, a faint whisper from a life you have momentarily stepped away from. You are here, held in the cradle of the ocean, where the air is thick with the scent of polished wood and the faint, lingering sweetness of beeswax candles, and as you watch the green light from the banker's lamp spill across the desk, you feel a profound sense of stillness settling into your bones. The ship is a floating island of grace, a marvel of brass and mahogany, and yet in this midnight hour it feels remarkably small and intimate, as if the entire vessel were designed solely to provide you with this single perfect moment of repose. Your hand, still holding the gold-nibbed pen, rests lightly upon the heavy parchment, and you can feel the subtle vibration of the great engines far below. A rhythmic thrumming that is less of a sound and more of a physical presence, a steady heartbeat that assures you of your progress through the dark, rolling swells. It is a comforting sound, a low-frequency hum that vibrates through the soles of your feet and up into the chair, wrapping around you like a warm blanket, and as you listen to it, you find that your own breathing has begun to synchronize with the pulse of the ship, growing slower, deeper, and more deliberate. The walnut paneling that surrounds you is dark and rich, its deep grain catching the soft glow of the lamp and reflecting it back in amber hues that seem to warm the very air of the room. Occasionally, as the ship meets a particularly long, slow swell, the wood offers a tiny musical creak, a sound of structural integrity and craftsmanship that reminds you of the strength protecting you from the elements. It is a gentle sound, like the settling of an old house, and it only serves to deepen the silence that fills the rest of the suite, a silence that is layered with the soft textures of luxury and the quiet dignity of a bygone era. You look down at the letter you have been writing, the ink now dry and matte against the cream-coloured paper, and you see the elegant loops and arcs of your own handwriting, a physical manifestation of your thoughts drifting across the sea to those you love. There is no rush to finish, no urgency to the night, for time here has slowed to the pace of the tides, and every movement you make is imbued with a heavy, languid grace. You can feel the weight of your silk sleeves against your wrists, the fabric cool and smooth against your skin, and the way the light catches the metallic shimmer of the brass edging on the desk, creating small, flickering stars in your field of vision. Your eyes drift to the small silver tray where the red sealing wax awaits, and you reach out, your fingers moving slowly through the air to pick up the slender stick. It feels cool and substantial in your hand, a dense rod of pigment and resin that holds the promise of finality, and as you bring it toward the small dancing flame of the candle, you are struck by the simple beauty of the ritual. The flame is a steady golden teardrop, barely flickering in the still air of the cabin, and as the heat begins to soften the end of the wax, you smell the faint, earthy aroma of the melting material, a scent that is both ancient and reassuring. You hold the wax there, suspended in the warmth, and watch as a single, heavy droplet begins to form, swelling like a ripe fruit until it can no longer support its own weight. It falls with a tiny wet plink onto the folded edge of the parchment, a bright splash of crimson against the cream, and you watch as it spreads slightly, a perfect circle of liquid heat that slowly begins to lose its shine as it meets the cooler air. The room seems to grow even quieter then, the muffled roar of the ocean outside becoming a rhythmic sigh that echoes the rise and fall of your chest. You are aware of the vastness of the water beneath the hull, miles of dark, silent currents moving in the abyss. But here, in the glow of the green glass lamp, you are cocooned in safety and warmth. The heavy drapes that cover the porthole are made of thick midnight blue velvet, and they hang in deep, motionless folds, shielding you from the spray and the starlight, ensuring that your world is limited to this small golden circle of light. You can feel the tension leaving your shoulders, a slow dissolution of tightness that flows down your arms and out through your fingertips, leaving you feeling light yet grounded, as if you were floating just a few inches above the plush carpet. Your eyelids are becoming heavy, the edges of your vision softening into a gentle blur, and the scratching of the pen, which seemed so distinct a few moments ago, is now just a ghost of a sound, a memory of motion. You lean back slightly in the chair, feeling the support of the upholstered leather against your spine, and you let your head rest against the high back of the seat. The ceiling above is a pale expanse of ivory, crisscrossed with delicate mouldings that cast long soft shadows in the dim light, and you find yourself tracing the patterns with your eyes, following the curves and lines until they dissolve into the darkness of the corners. The rocking of the ship is so subtle now, a mere suggestion of movement, like a cradle being nudged by a gentle hand, and you find that you are leaning into the motion, letting it carry you, letting it dictate the rhythm of your thoughts. There is nothing left to do, no more words to find, no more tasks to complete. The letter is sealed, the day is done, and the night is a vast open space, waiting to be filled with dreams. You can feel the coolness of the silk against your legs, the way the fabric shifts with the slightest movement, and the warmth of the lamp on the side of your face, a steady, comforting heat that feels like a physical caress. The air in the room is perfectly still, yet it feels alive with the history of the ship, with the quiet breaths of hundreds of other souls sleeping in their own cocoons of luxury, all of you united by the shared journey across the salt and the spray. You think of the bridge high above, where the officers stand in silent vigil, their eyes scanning the horizon, and the engine room far below, where the firemen tend to the glowing hearts of the boilers, but those worlds feel infinitely far away from this private universe of wood and light. Here, there is only the snare of the water against the steel, a sound that is as old as the world itself, and the occasional muffled thud of a wave meeting the bow, a sound that is more of a vibration, a deep-seated reassurance that the ship is strong, that the ocean is vast, and that you are safe. You find yourself focusing on the small red seal on your letter, the way the wax has now hardened into a firm, matte disc, holding your secrets and your affections secure within its grip. Holding your secrets and your affections secure within its grip, and you feel a sense of satisfaction, a completion of the day's journey. Your breathing is very slow now, Each inhale a long, cool draught of air that fills your lungs and expands your ribs, and each exhale a soft, warm release that carries away the last remnants of wakefulness. You can feel the weight of your own body, the way gravity pulls at you with a gentle, persistent insistence, inviting you to let go of the upright world and sink into the horizontal peace of the bed that awaits you just a few steps away. But for now, you remain in the chair, savouring the final moments of this transition, the threshold between the waking world and the realm of sleep. The banker's lamp casts a pool of light that seems to be shrinking, the darkness of the room pressing in with a soft, friendly weight, and you find that you don't mind the shadows at all. They are like old friends coming to tuck you in, to wrap you in the obscurity that precedes the dawn. The ticking of a small carriage clock on the mantelpiece is a tiny silver sound, a tick-tick-tick that marks the passage of seconds you no longer need to count, and it blends seamlessly with the creaking of the walnut and the drumming of the engines. The world is narrowing down to the sensation of the silk against your skin, the smell of the fading candle, and the rhythmic swaying of the floor beneath your feet. You are a passenger on a great vessel, but you are also a passenger on a great vessel, but you are also a passenger on the tide of sleep, drifting away from the shore of consciousness, into the deep, still waters of the unconscious. You can feel your pulse in your fingertips, a slow and steady beat that matches the slow and steady movement of the ship, and you realize that there is no difference between the two. You are part of the ship, part of the ocean, part of the night. The green glass of the lamp glows like an emerald in the dark, a beacon of calm in the midnight hour, and you find yourself staring into its depths, letting the colour wash over you until your mind is filled with nothing but that soothing, mossy hue. It is the colour of deep forests and quiet gardens, a colour that speaks of rest and renewal, and as you gaze at it, you feel your mind beginning to unravel, the threads of thought becoming loose and ethereal, floating away like smoke in a draught-free room. The heaviness in your limbs is profound now, a comfortable leaden quality that makes the idea of moving seem like a monumental task. And yet you know that when you finally do stand, you will move with the fluidity of a dream. You imagine the water outside, the millions of gallons of salt and brine shifting in the dark, the way the light of the moon, hidden now behind the clouds, would silver the crests of the waves if you were to look out. But you do not need to look. You can feel the ocean in the way the room tilts, a slow, majestic inclination that lasts for seconds before reversing, a motion that is so large and so slow that it feels like the breathing of the earth itself. You are being held by the sea, supported by the sea, supported by the engineering of man and the physics of the buoyancy, and in this realization there is a total surrender. There is no conflict here, no storm to weather, only the long, smooth passage toward the morning. You think of the heavy wool blankets on your bed, the crisp linen sheets that smell of lavender and sun, and the way the pillows will cradle your head, and the thought is like a physical weight pulling at your spirit. You are ready to let the pen slip from your hand, to let the lamp be extinguished, and to let the lamp be extinguished, and to let the darkness take hold. The red wax on the paper is the last point of focus, a tiny island of colour in a world that is turning to shades of grey and black, and as you look at it, you feel a final lingering sense of peace. The letter will be collected in the morning, whisked away by a steward in a crisp white uniform, and it will begin its own journey back across the waves. But you will still be here, suspended in this timeless void, moving through the night. The silence of the suite is now a living thing, a soft presence that sits beside you, and you find yourself listening to the absence of sound, the gaps between the engine's thrum and the wood's creak. In those gaps, you hear the true voice of the night, a low, resonant vibration that seems to come from the very core of the world. It is a sound that has no beginning and no end, a sound that speaks of the permanence of the stars and the depths of the sea, and it is the most beautiful lullaby you have ever heard. Your chin sinks towards your chest, the silk of your pajamas rustling softly against your skin, and you feel the first gentle tug of a dream pulling at the corners of your mind. It is a dream of light and water, of slow movements and infinite space, and you welcome it with a quiet, inward smile. The lamp flickers once, a tiny movement of the flame within the glass, and for a moment the shadows on the wall dance and stretch, turning the walnut panels into the trunks of ancient trees in a moonlit forest. You are walking through that forest, the ground soft beneath your feet, the air cool and fragrant, and the sound of the ocean is now the sound of the wind in the leaves, a constant soothing rustle that guides you deeper into the woods. You are safe here, hidden away from the world, and the path ahead is clear and easy, leading you toward a place of perfect rest. The transition is almost, you look clean. The transition is almost complete. The room around you is fading, the desk and the chair and the letter becoming indistinct, and only the rhythm remains. The rhythm of the ship, the rhythm of the sea, the rhythm of your heart. As the last echoes of the day's thoughts dissipate, you find yourself existing only in the present sensation of comfort. The warmth of the sweet, the softness of the air, and the steady, hypnotic rocking have combined to create a state of pure being. You are no longer a person with a name or a destination. You are simply a consciousness afloat in a sea, or simply a consciousness afloat in a sea of tranquility. The heavy velvet curtains, the polished brass, the scent of the ceiling wax, all of these have served their purpose, grounding you in this moment of absolute security, and now they're allowing you to drift away. You feel your muscles go completely slack, the last bit of tension in your jaw dissolving, and your hands resting palm up on your lap, open and relaxed. The engine's hum has become a distant murmur, a sound from another world, and the creaking of the ship is now as natural as the sound of your own heartbeat. You are sinking deeper into the chair, the leather moulding itself to your form, and the darkness of the room feels like a warm embrace, a velvet cloak wrapped around your soul. You are ready now. The letter is written, the wax is set, and the journey continues, whether you are awake to witness it or not. The Atlantic is vast, the night is long, and you are exactly where you are meant to be. The green light of the lamp is the last thing you see before your eyes finally close, a soft emerald glow that lingers behind your eyelids like a fading star. In the darkness, the sensory details of the room remain, but they are transformed. The smell of the wood is deeper, the sound of the wood is deeper, the sound of the water more rhythmic, the feeling of the ship's motion more profound. You are drifting, sliding into the abyss of sleep with the same grace that the ship slides through the waves. There is no resistance, only the smooth, inevitable pull of the dream. The world of 1912, with its elegance and its order, is your sanctuary, and you are nestled deep within its heart, protected by miles of ocean and layers of history. You are a traveller in time and space, but for now, your journey is internal, a descent into the quietest parts of yourself. The ticking clock has slowed down in your mind, the intervals between the beats stretching out until they become vast plains of silence. Each tick is a distant signal, a reminder that the world is still turning, but it is a world that no longer requires your attention. But it is a world that no longer requires your attention. You are free to let go, to vanish into the folds of the night, to become part of the shadow and the sound. The ship breathes for you, the ocean pulses for you, and the darkness holds you close. You are sinking, drifting, falling into the softest, deepest sleep imaginable, where the only sound is the rhythmic sigh of the sea, and the only feeling is the gentle, eternal rocking of the waves. The red wax on the letter is cold now, a hard, permanent seal on a day that has reached its end. You are no longer sitting at the desk. You are moving toward the bed, your feet gliding over the carpet like a ghost, your body moving with a heavy, dreamlike momentum. The sheets are cool and inviting, the blankets a weight of pure comfort, and as you slide beneath them, you feel the final surrender of your body to the pillows. The world disappears. The ship remains. The sea remains. And you, held in the cradle of the Atlantic, finally find the silence you have been seeking. The journey continues. The engines thrum, and the stars wheel overhead, but you are at peace, lost in the slumbering ages, where time is a river and sleep is the ocean that waits at its end. The walnut walls whisper one last time, a tiny creak of wood on wood, and then there is only the low, low hum of the great ship moving through the deep. The light is gone, the candle is out, and the green lamp is a memory. There is only the dark, the rhythm, and the profound, unshakable safety of the cabin. Sleep now, for the ocean is wide, and the morning is a lifetime away. Your breathing is a mirror of the waves, a slow, deep rise and fall that will carry you through the midnight hours and into the soft light of dawn. But for now, there is only the night and the deep, dark, beautiful sleep of the sea. The weight of the blankets is a promise of rest, the coolness of the pillow a balm for the mind, and the steady, unceasing movement of the vessel is the final perfect lullaby. You are gone, drifted away into the silent world beneath the surface of thought, where the water is still and the dreams are infinite. The Atlantic holds you, the ship protects you, and the night is your home. Relax every muscle, let every thought go, and simply be the motion of the ship, the salt of the air, and the quiet of the room. Sleep is here, and it is as deep as the ocean itself. The night has deepened, drawing a heavy velvet curtain over the world outside, and as you sit here in the absolute sanctuary of your first-class suite, the year is 1912, and you are entirely insulated from the vast, dark expanse of the North Atlantic. You have left the waking world far behind you, leaving the demands of the day, the voices of the crowds, and the rushing of time on the distant shores of another continent, allowing yourself to be completely cradled by the immense floating palace that carries you through the midnight waters. The ocean liner, a triumph of polished steel and dark wood, moves a majestic, unhurried grace, cutting through the deep sea with a steady, rhythmic certainty that translates into your private cabin as a slow, hypnotic rocking, a gentle, pendulum-like sway that lifts you up ever so slightly, holds you suspended for a fraction of a heartbeat, and then lowers you down with a softness that feels almost like a slow, deep breath exhaled by the ship itself. There is nowhere else you need to be, and absolutely nothing else you need to do. As the profound isolation of the open ocean wraps around the hull of the ship, creating a perfect, impenetrable cocoon of safety and warmth, the air inside your suite is perfectly still and comfortably warm, heated by the silent, invisible breath of the ship's massive boilers far below, rising through the vents to fill the space with a cozy, rising through the fence to fill the space with a cozy, deeply soothing ambient temperature that relaxes the muscles in your back, your shoulders, and your neck. You are dressed for rest, wrapped in the smooth, cool embrace of a heavy silk pyjama set, the fabric gliding effortlessly against your skin with every subtle movement you make, its rich, fluid texture a constant, quiet reminder of the luxury and comfort that surrounds you in this secluded haven. You are seated at a beautiful, heavy writing desk, a masterpiece of Edwardian craftsmanship, its thick mahogany legs planted firmly on the plush, woven woolen carpet that covers the floor, absorbing any stray sounds and softening the environment into a hushed, muted stillness. The desk is edged in, polished brass, the metal cool and solid beneath the resting edge of your wrist, and the surface is inlaid with a vast expanse of dark, forest green leather, tooled with an intricate perimeter of gold leaf that catches the light in faint, shimmering lines. The only illumination in the room comes from the classic banker's lamp sitting at the corner of the desk. Its heavy brass base, supporting a beautifully curved shade of thick, emerald green glass, which focuses the warm golden light of the incandescent bulb directly downward, creating a brilliant, intimate pool of amber light on the leather writing surface, while casting the rest of the spacious cabin into deep, restful, calming shadows. The green glass of the lamp acts as a filter, softening the glare and casting a subtle, jewel-toned rim of light around the edge of the shade, a colour so rich and calming that simply looking at it makes your eyelids feel heavy, as if the light itself is suggesting that it is time to close your eyes. You sit within this golden halo, the darkness of the room pressing gently against the edges of the light, feeling completely protected, completely hidden from the world, a solitary passenger in a floating room, surrounded by the finest comforts, adrift on a calm and endless sea. In your hand you hold a fountain pen, its barrel crafted from smooth, polished celluloid that has warmed perfectly to the temperature of your skin, feeling like a natural extension of your own hand, balanced and comfortable between your fingers. The nib of the pen is solid gold, finely split, down the centre, and as you write the final words of a letter to your family, waiting on a distant shore, the gold tip glides across the surface of the thick, heavy parchment paper with a smooth, effortless grace. The paper is rich, made of cotton rag, its surface slightly textured, offering just the perfect amount of resistance to the pen, creating a deeply satisfying, rhythmic and hypnotic sound as you write. Shh, shh. The sound of the nib scratching against the heavy parchment is incredibly quiet, yet in the absolute stillness of the midnight cabin, it fills the air with a soothing, repetitive cadence, a tiny, intimate percussion that syncs with the slow beating of your own heart. Shh, shh. Glistening wet and dark in the golden light of the lamp before slowly drying, sinking into the fibres and becoming a permanent, matte stain on the pristine ivory surface. You form the final letters, the loops and crosses of your name, moving your hand with a slow, deliberate calmness, feeling the tension drain from your fingers, your wrist, and your forearm with every stroke. You place the final period at the end of the sentence, holding the pen there for just a moment, letting the last drop of ink settle into the paper, and then you slowly, gently lift the gold nib away, breaking the connection, signalling the end of the task, the end of the day, and the beginning of your descent into sleep. You set the fountain pen down on a small, velvet-lined brass tray, resting on the desk, the soft, muted clink of the pen settling into its resting place, sounding like a gentle chime in the quiet room. A sound that tells your mind it is time to let go. Your breathing begins to slow down, matching the deep, unhurried rhythm of the ocean liner as it pushes through the dark water. You inhale slowly, feeling the warm, still air of the cabin fill your lungs, and as you exhale, you feel your shoulders drop an inch lower, the soft silk of your pajamas settling heavily against your skin, your body sinking just a little deeper into the plush, upholstered leather of the heavy wooden chair. The chair is wide and accommodating, its padded back curving around you, supporting your spine, holding you securely as the ship continues its endless gentle sway, a cradle rocking in the dark. You reach out with slow, relaxed hands to take hold of the heavy parchment paper, your fingertips tracing the dry, textured surface, feeling the slight indentation left by the pressure of the gold nib, a tactile memory of the words you have just written. You lift the bottom edge of the paper, bringing it up to meet the top edge, moving deliberately, without any rush, enjoying the simple physical act of folding the thick, substantial sheet. You align the corners perfectly, the ivory edges meeting in the golden light, and then you press your thumb along the bottom fold, creating a crisp, clean crease, the sound of the thick paper bending and settling into its new shape, a dry, satisfying crackle that echoes softly in the quiet space. You fold it once more, bringing the sides together, pressing the crease again, reducing the wide open sheet into a small, compact, intimate square, sealing your thoughts away, sealing your thoughts away, sealing your thoughts away, sealing your thoughts away, preparing them for their journey, and preparing your mind for its own journey into the deep, quiet realms of sleep. The folded letter sits in the centre of the leather desk pad, bathed in the amber light, while the rest of the room remains cloaked in the soft green-tinted shadows, the heavy walnut panelling of the walls absorbing the light, making the cabin feel smaller, cozier, and more secure than ever before. It is time to seal the letter. You reach out toward a small, ornate silver candlestick, sitting near the base of the banker's lamp, holding a single, short taper of pure, unbleached beeswax, its wick black and curled from a previous use. Beside the candlestick lies a small brass matchbox, its surface worn smooth by years of handling, feeling cold and solid against your warm fingertips as you slide it open, retrieving a single wooden match with a red, sulphurous tip. You hold the matchbox in one hand, the match in the other, your movements slow, heavy, and dreamlike, every action taking place in a thick, invisible syrup of relaxation that slows your muscles and calms your mind. You strike the match against the rough strip on the side of the box, a sharp, brief scritch that breaks the silence for only a second, followed immediately by the soft, rushing hiss of the flame bursting into life. A tiny, brilliant teardrop of fire dances at the end of the wooden stick, casting a warm, flickering orange glow that pushes back the green shadows, illuminating the fine grain of the leather desk and the smooth, polished curves of your own hands. You watch the flame for a moment, mesmerized by its gentle, wavering dance, feeling the tiny, localized point of heat, its gentle, wavering dance, feeling the tiny, localized point of heat it generates in the cool, still air before you slowly lower it toward the blackened wick of the beeswax candle. The flame touches the wick, and the wick eagerly catches the fire, transferring the light from the wood to the wax, growing into a steady, bright, golden triangle of light that stands perfectly still in the draft-free cabin. You blow out the match with a soft, gentle breath, a sound no louder than a sigh, and a thin, delicate ribbon of blue smoke rises from the extinguished tip, twisting and curling into the air, carrying with it the brief, sharp scent of struck sulphur, which quickly dissipates, replaced by the warm, sweet, honeyed fragrance of the melting beeswax candle. The smell is incredibly comforting, a rich, organic scent that evokes feelings of old libraries, quiet studies, and safe, enclosed spaces, wrapping around you like a heavy, invisible blanket, drawing you further down into a state of profound, undisturbed tranquility. You place the spent match gently into a small ceramic dish, the tiny tap of the wood against the glaze barely registering in your ears as your attention shifts to the stick of sealing wax resting beside the letter. The wax is a deep, rich, regal crimson, a colour so dark it looks almost black in the shadows. But as you pick it up and bring it into the golden pool of light cast by the lamp and the candle, it reveals its true, vibrant hue, a glossy, saturated red that hints at the heat it is about to endure. The stick of wax is hard, smooth, and cool to the touch. A rigid cylinder of resin that feels heavy and substantial between your thumb and forefinger. With a slow, steady hand, You bring the tip of the crimson wax toward the flame of the beeswax candle, not touching the fire directly, but holding it just above the golden halo, allowing the invisible, rising heat to do its slow, transformative work. You sit perfectly still, your breathing deep and rhythmic, watching with heavy, half-closed eyes as the rigid surface of the wax begins to change. The dull, matte finish softening, melting, and turning into a highly reflective, liquid gloss that catches the flickering light of the candle flame. The transformation is mesmerizing, a slow, silent surrender of the solid wax to the gentle, persistent heat. And as you watch, your own body seems to mirror the process, your muscles softening, your tension melting away, your limbs becoming heavy, relaxed, and completely at ease in the comfortable chair. The tip of the crimson wax begins to swell, gathering into a thick, heavy, suspended droplet of liquid colour. The tip of the crimson wax begins to swell, gathering into a thick, heavy, suspended droplet of liquid colour, the heat penetrating deeper into the stick, releasing a faint, sharp scent of pine resin that mixes beautifully with the sweet honey of the beeswax, creating an atmosphere that is rich, historical, and deeply, profoundly grounding. You hold the melting wax over the folded seam of your letter, watching as the droplet grows larger, heavier, pulling away from the solid stick, stretching into a thin, glossy thread, until gravity finally overcomes the tension, and the heavy drop of molten crimson falls through the air. Plop! The sound of the thick, hot wax hitting the heavy parchment paper is incredibly soft, a muted, wet sound that is instantly satisfying as the liquid red pools perfectly over the edge of the folded paper, spreading out into a thick, glossy circle of heat. You lower the stick again, allowing a second drop to gather, swell, and fall. Plop, and then a third. Plop, and then a third. Plop. The small puddle of crimson wax sits on the paper, thick, hot, and shining in the golden light, a perfect, unbroken seal, waiting to be marked. You set the stick of wax aside, its tip still soft and glistening, and you reach for the brass signet stamp resting on the desk. The handle of the stamp is made of dark, polished ebony wood, turned on a lathe into a shape that fits perfectly into the palm of your hand, smooth and cool to the touch, providing a solid, comforting weight. The base of the stamp is heavy, solid brass, its surface engraved with an intricate looping monogram, the metal cold and unyielding. You grasp the ebony handle, your fingers wrapping loosely around the smooth wood, and you bring the heavy brass base down toward the puddle of hot red wax. You press the cold brass firmly into the center of the molten crimson, and as the metal makes contact with the heat, there is a microscopic, nearly inaudible hiss, a tiny transfer of temperature that you can feel more than hear, a subtle vibration traveling up the wooden handle and into the palm of your hand. You hold the stamp there, applying a steady, even pressure, feeling the resistance of the wax as it cools and hardens around the engraved metal, locking the shape of the letters into its glossy surface. You hold it for one slow, deep breath in, feeling the air fill your lungs, and one slow, deep breath out, feeling your body sink deeper into the chair. And then, with a gentle rocking motion, you lift the brass stamp away. The wax has cooled, leaving behind a perfect raised impression of the monogram, the sharp, clean lines of the letters catching the light of the banker's lamp, a beautiful, permanent seal on the heavy parchment. The act is finished. The letter is complete. There is nothing more to be written, nothing more to be folded, nothing more to be folded, nothing more to be sealed. The physical actions of the day have come to their absolute final conclusion, and all that remains is the deep, profound stillness of the midnight cabin and the slow, rhythmic rocking of the ship beneath you. You push the sealed letter gently toward the back of the desk, moving it out of the golden pool of light, letting it rest in the soft green shadows, and you place your hands flat on the cool, smooth leather of the desk pad, feeling the solid, unmoving support of the heavy wooden furniture. Your eyes are drawn to the flame of the beeswax candle, its golden light wavering ever so slightly, casting long, soft, dancing shadows against the rich, dark walnut panelling of the walls. You watch the flame, your gaze softening, blurring, losing its focus as the hypnotic dance of the fire draws you deeper and deeper into a state of total, absolute relaxation. Now, with all movement ceased, your senses begin to expand, reaching out into the quiet corners of the room, absorbing the microscopic details of the environment that were hidden beneath the sounds of writing and sealing. The silence of the cabin is not an empty void, but a rich textured tapestry of muffled soothing sounds, an ambient symphony of safety and isolation that lulls you towards sleep. Deep, deep below you, far down in the iron heart of the ship. Deep, deep below you, far down in the iron heart of the ship. The massive steam engines are working tirelessly, driving the enormous steel propellers through the heavy ocean water. But up here, in your first-class suite, that colossal power is filtered through layer upon layer of steel, wood, and carpet, until it reaches you only as a low, continuous, deeply soothing hum. It is a frequency that you feel in your chest more than you hear with your ears, a steady rhythmic vibration that travels up through the floorboards, through the heavy legs of the desk, and into the soles of your feet, a constant physical reminder of the immense strength and unstoppable momentum of the vessel that carries you. The hum is like a giant mechanical purr, a sound so consistent, so reliable, and so deep that it acts as a heavy blanket of white noise, wrapping around your mind, muffling any wandering thoughts, and pulling you down into a state of heavy, dreamless comfort. Accompanying the low thrum of the engines is the voice of the ship itself, the beautiful organic sounds of the heavy wood and polished steel flexing and shifting as the vessel rides over the long, slow swells of the deep ocean. The thick, beautifully carved walnut panelling that lines the walls of your suite occasionally lets out a microscopic, incredibly soft creak, a dry, woody sound that speaks of the immense pressures being absorbed and distributed by the ship's architecture. It is a comforting sound, the sound of a strong, well-built structure doing exactly what it was designed to do, flexing with the elements rather than fighting them, adapting to the ocean's rhythm with a graceful, measured strength. Creak. The sound comes from the corner of the room, near the heavy velvet curtains that cover the porthole. Creak. It comes from the ceiling above you, a soft, settling noise that makes the room feel even more intimate, even more secure. You listen to the wood, letting the random, gentle sounds wash over you, each tiny creak acting as a small, heavy weight placed upon your eyelids, pulling them down, urging them to close, and beneath it all, outside the thick, reinforced glass of the brass-rimmed porthole, lies the endless dark expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. You cannot see the water, for the night is pitch black, but you can hear it, and you can feel it. The sound of the ocean is a constant rushing whisper, the noise of thousands of tons of deep, cold water parting before the immense steel bow of the ship, sliding along the smooth, riveted hull, and churning into a frothy white wake behind. It is a sound of infinite vastness, a continuous, rushing shah that rises and falls in volume with the gentle pitching of the ship, a sound that has existed since the beginning of the world, ancient, powerful, and deeply, profoundly calming. The ship rises on a long, slow swell, the floor beneath you tilting ever so slightly, a gentle elevation that makes you feel as though you are being lifted into the air, suspended in a moment of weightless grace. And then, as the swell passes beneath the hull, the ship begins its long, slow descent. sinking back down into the trough of the wave, a motion that pulls your own body down with it, sinking deeper into the soft padding of the chair, into the soft padding of the chair, sinking deeper into the warmth of your silk pajamas, sinking deeper into the heavy gravitational pull of sleep, up and down, rise and fall, inhale and exhale. The rhythm of the ocean, the rhythm of the ship, and the rhythm of your own breathing have all synchronized into a single, unified pulse, a slow, majestic metronome that is guiding you inexorably toward the edge of slumber. You feel the heavy, warm air of the cabin filling your lungs, expanding your chest, and as you let the air out in a long, slow sigh, you feel the last remaining traces of tension dissolve from your muscles, leaving your body feeling incredibly heavy, completely loose, and perfectly at rest. Your eyelids are so heavy now, the soft green-tinted light of the banker's lamp becoming a blurred, glowing smear of emerald and gold in your vision. The dancing flame of the beeswax candle is just a warm orange haze, its light barely registering through the thick, heavy curtains of your eyelashes. You no longer have the strength or the desire to keep your eyes open. The world outside the light, the room, the ship, the ocean, it all begins to fade away, losing its distinct edges, melting into a soft, dark, comfortable void. You allow your eyes to close completely, the darkness greeting you like an old, trusted friend, wrapping around your mind with a soft, velvet touch. With your eyes closed, the other senses become even more pronounced, but they are all soft, all distant, all comforting. You feel the smooth, cool leather of the desk beneath your hands. You smell the fading, sweet scent of the beeswax and the rich, historic aroma of the crimson pine resin. You hear the deep, continuous, vibrating purr of the engines far below. You hear the soft, random, wooden creaks of the walnut panels. You hear the endless, rushing whisper of the dark ocean outside. And you feel the motion, the slow, rhythmic, unstoppable motion of the ship, carrying you forward through the night, a giant floating cradle rocking you back and forth, up and down, side to side, with a gentle, mechanical precision that is impossible to resist. You do not need to hold on. You do not need to stay awake. The ship is holding you. The night is holding you. The deep, vast ocean is holding you. Your head bows slightly, the muscles in your neck releasing their hold, your chin dipping toward your chest as the weight of sleep finally settles heavily upon your shoulders. The golden light of the lamp shines on the back of your hands, warming the skin, but you are already drifting away from the desk. Drifting away from the desk, drifting away from the room, drifting down into the deep, quiet, untroubled waters of your own mind. The sound of the ocean swells, a soft, rushing roar that fills the space behind your eyes, washing away any lingering thoughts, smoothing out the surface of your consciousness until it is as flat and calm as a hidden lake at midnight. The hum of the engine becomes a physical sensation, a warm, vibrating blanket that covers you from head to toe, numbing your limbs, making them feel as though they are made of warm, heavy lead, sinking down, 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 into the absolute comfort of the dark. Every breath you take is slower than the last. Every beat of your heart is quieter than the last. Every beat of your heart is quieter than the last. Every sway of the ship pulls you deeper into the soft, welcoming embrace of the night. There is no past to remember, no future to anticipate, only this perfect, suspended moment of warmth, safety, and profound, undisturbed peace. You are perfectly safe. You are perfectly warm. You are completely at rest, drifting on the slow, heavy currents of the deep ocean, letting the gentle rocking of the great ship carry you away into a long, deep, and beautifully silent sleep. The world you left behind on the pier has dissolved into a memory of coal smoke and shouting voices, replaced now by the infinite velvet cradle of the North Atlantic in the early summer of 1912. You are here, safely ensconced within the heart of a floating palace, where the steel and the oak conspire to keep the wildness of the world at bay. It is midnight, the hour when the ship truly begins to breathe with you. And as you sit at your private writing desk, you feel the immense weight of the vessel, acting not as a machine of industry, but as a giant gentle nursemaid, rocking you toward a profound and shoreless rest. The air in your first-class suite is perfectly still, warmed by the subtle hum of hidden heaters, and scented with the faint, expensive aroma of beeswax polish and the lingering ghost of Earl Grey tea. You are wrapped in the fluid weight of heavy silk pajamas, a garment that slides over your skin with a cool, watery grace, mirroring the fluid world outside your porthole. Tonight, there is no horizon, only the seamless union of dark water and starlit sky, and you are tucked away in a sanctuary of polished walnut and burnished brass. The banker's lamp on your desk casts a soft, emerald glow through its green glass shade, a pool of light that feels like a private island in the vast, dim ocean of the room. You can hear the silence of the ship, a complex and layered quietude that consists of 1,000 tiny, comforting sounds. There is the rhythmic, low-frequency pulse of the great engines far below, a vibration so steady and deep that it feels less like a sound and more like the beating of your own heart. It is a tectonic lullaby, a subterranean thrum that promises progress without effort. A journey that continues even as you let go of the day. Your hand, holding a heavy gold-nibbed fountain pen, moves with a slow and deliberate pace across the surface of a thick, cream-coloured sheet of parchment. The sound of the nib is a delicate rhythmic scratching, a crisp shush that punctuates the stillness. It is the sound of thoughts being transcribed into physical form, the slow unburdening of the mind onto the page. You write of the calm seas, of the way the chandeliers in the dining saloon chime like tiny silver bells when the ship meets a larger swell, and of the incredible profound peace that comes from being suspended between two worlds. As you write, your breathing begins to synchronize with the motion of the ship. The deck beneath your feet rises with a slow, imperial grace, holding for a heartbeat at the apex, and then sinks back down with a gentle, sighing descent into the trough of a wave. It is a cycle that lasts seconds, yet feels as though it has been happening since the beginning of time. Your shoulders, which have carried the tension of the city and the docks, finally begin to drop, losing their rigidity and melting into the cushioned back of your mahogany chair. You pause for a moment, lifting the pen and watching the way the emerald light reflects off the wet ink on the paper. The ink is a deep, midnight blue, slowly soaking into the fibres of the parchment, drying into a permanent record of this moment of absolute safety. The walnut panelling of the room gives a tiny musical creak, the sound of the wood settling into the embrace of the steel hull. It is a cosy domestic sound, like the settling of an old house at night. Outside, beyond the heavy curtains of Belgian lace and thick velvet, the Atlantic is a vast, silent witness, but inside, you are surrounded by the triumphs of human craftsmanship. The brass fittings of the desk glow with a dull, golden warmth, and the air feels thick and nourishing, as if every breath you take is bringing you closer to a state of total equilibrium. Your eyes trace the grain of the wood, following the swirling patterns of the walnut as they disappear into the shadows of the corner. The world is becoming smaller, more intimate, focusing down to the circle of light on your desk and the weight of the pen in your hand. You decide to conclude your letter, offering a final wish of wellness to those on land, and as you sign your name, the strokes of the pen are slower now, more fluid, almost lazy. The task is complete. You have bridged the distance between the ship and the shore, and now you can allow yourself to fully inhabit the present. You set the pen down on its crystal rest with a tiny crystalline click. You reach for the stick of crimson sealing wax and a small silver candle that sits in a heavy holder. Striking a long match, you watch the flame bloom into a steady amber teardrop. The smell of the sulphur is brief and nostalgic, quickly replaced by the scent of warm wax and the faint aroma of the candle's wick. You hold the red wax over the flame, watching as it begins to glisten, turning from a matte solid into a glowing, translucent liquid. A single drop falls onto the folded paper, a soft, wet plip that is incredibly satisfying in the silence. Then another, and another. The wax pools into a perfect scarlet circle, steaming slightly, carrying the warmth of the fire into the fibres of the letter. You press your heavy brass signet ring into the cooling wax, feeling the resistance as it takes the impression, a final act of closure for the day. The heat from the wax radiates upward toward your face, a tiny sun in the center of your private universe. As the wax hardens, turning opaque and firm, you feel a corresponding settling within your own body. Your eyelids are beginning to feel heavy, as if tiny, invisible weights are being draped over your lashes. The green light of the lamp seems softer now, the edges of the room blurring into a haze of comfortable shadows. You lean back, the silk of your sleeves whispering against the wood of the desk. The ship continues its long, slow roll, port to starboard, starboard to port, a metronome for the soul. You rise from the desk, your movements slow and dreamlike, as if you are moving through water. The carpet beneath your feet is thick and plush, swallowing the sound of your steps, making you feel as though you are floating. You move toward the large comforter bed with its high thread count linens and heavy down comforter. The bed is a fortress of softness, waiting to receive you. You turn off the banker's lamp, and the room is plunged into a warm charcoal darkness, lit only by the faint blue glow of the moonlight filtering through the porthole and the dying embers of the candle on the desk. As you slide beneath the covers, the coolness of the sheets is a brief, refreshing shock that quickly gives way to a cocoon of warmth. The weight of the blankets is immense and comforting, pressing down on you with a gentle authority that tells you it is okay to let go. You lie on your back, staring up at the ceiling where the faint reflections of the sea play in a hypnotic shifting dance of light and shadow. The low-frequency rumble of the engines is even more apparent here, vibrating through the mattress and into your spine, a constant reassuring reminder that you are being carried, that you are being taken care of by a marvel of engineering and the steady hands of the crew. Your breathing is slow now, deep and rhythmic, in and out. Each breath feels as though it is drawing in the peace of the ocean. The rhythmic creaking of the ship's joints sounds like the breathing of a great, friendly animal. You feel the gravity shift as the ship bows to the sea, a long, slow tilt that makes you feel as though you are being cradled in the palm of a giant hand. The mattress supports every inch of your body, from the back of your head to the tips of your toes. Your feet feel heavy and warm. Your legs are sinking into the soft abyss of the down mattress. Your hips and your torso are becoming part of the bed, the boundaries between you and the room beginning to dissolve. Outside, the cold Atlantic air is biting and sharp, but here you are in a pocket of perpetual spring. The insulation of the ship is a barrier against the elements, a silent vow of protection. You think of the miles of water beneath you, miles of silent, dark blue mystery, and instead of fear, you feel a profound sense of awe and tranquility. You are a passenger on a journey that requires nothing of you but your presence. The engines will turn, the officers will watch the stars, and the ship will find its way through the dark, all while you drift further and further into the landscape of your own mind. The images of the day begin to flicker and fade like the last frames of a cinema reel. The green light of the lamp, the scratch of the pen, the scent of the red wax, the feel of the silk, they all become abstract, sensory memories that swirl together into a soft, multicolored mist. You are no longer thinking in words, but in sensations. The sensation of the sway, the sensation of the sway, the sensation of the hum, the sensation of the warmth. Your jaw relaxes, your tongue resting softly behind your teeth. The muscles around your eyes let go of their last remnants of focus. The ship gives a slightly deeper roll, a long, sighing movement that feels as though the ocean itself is taking a deep breath. You go with it, leaning into the motion, trusting the ship, trusting the sea. The shah-shah of the waves against the steel hull is a distant, muffled sound, like a secret being whispered in another room. It is a sound of infinite repetition, a sound that has no beginning and no end. You are falling, not downward, but inward. You are falling, not downward, but inward. The darkness of the room is no longer a void, but a soft, protective blanket. The rhythmic creaking of the woodwork is the only clock you need, marking the passage of moments that no longer have a name. You are drifting on a sea of silk and walnut, carried by the pulse of the great engines, protected by the strength of the hull. The letter you wrote is resting on the desk, a silent on the desk, a silent envoy to the world you have left behind. But you are here, in the stillness, in the safety, in the deep blue midnight of the North Atlantic. Your thoughts are like the foam on the crest of a wave, disappearing as quickly as they form, leaving behind only the vast, calm surface of the water. The hum of the ship is a drone that fills your mind, wiping away the clutter of the past and the uncertainty of the future. There is only the now. There is only the sway. There is only the warmth. The ship moves through the dark, a lonely but resolute spark of light in the vastness, and you are its heart, resting in the center of the machine, in the center of the ocean. In the center of the ocean, 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 in the center of the ocean. The stars above the masts are bright and cold, but you are warm. The water below the keel is deep and dark, but you are safe. The journey continues, silent and steady, as you succumb to the gravity of sleep. The heavy curtains sway ever so slightly with the movement of the ship, a ghostly dance in the dim light. The silver candle holder on the desk catches a stray beam of moonlight, glowing with a soft, ethereal radiance. Everything is in its place. Everything is as it should be. The world is at peace, and so are you. Your breathing is a soft echo of the waves, a slow, tidal pull that draws you deeper and deeper into the quiet. The walnut panels whisper one last time, a gentle good night from the ship itself. The engines hum their final low note of the hour. The silk of the sheets settles against your skin, a final caress. You are gone now, drifting far beyond the reach of the shore, into the soft, welcoming embrace of a sleep that is as vast and as deep as the ocean itself. You are resting. You are safe. You are home. The rhythmic motion of the vessel becomes the only reality, a pendulous swing that lulls the consciousness into a state of pure, wordless being. Port and starboard. The rise and the fall. The rise and the fall. The ship is a cradle of steel and luxury, carving its path through the silent, salt-scented dark. The vibrations in the pillow are a gentle massage for the mind, smoothing out the last wrinkles of thought. You are sinking into the velvet depths of the night, where the only colours are the shades of shadows, and the only sound is the heartbeat of the ship. Deep, deep sleep is rising to meet you, a warm tide that flows over your limbs and carries away the weight of existence. You are a feather on the breath of the Atlantic, a stowaway in the Hall of Dreams. The engines will keep their vigil. The stars will keep their course. You have only to exist, to breathe, and to disappear into the soft blue silence of the 1912 night. The ink is dry, the wax is cold, and the journey is just beginning in the quiet country of sleep. Every tiny sound, the muffled clink of a glass in the carafe, the distant ghostly whistle of the wind through the rigging, the soft thud of a wave against the bow, serves only to deepen your relaxation. They are the ambient textures of a world that is perfectly ordered and utterly serene. You are tucked into the very fabric of history, a moment of perfect stillness captured in a bubble of glass and brass. The blankets feel heavier now, a comforting weight that anchors you to the bed while your spirit begins to float. You are no longer aware of the room, only of the rhythm. Only of the rhythm. The rhythm is everything. It is the language of the sea, and now the language of your soul. You are sinking, you are drifting, you are becoming the ocean, you are becoming the night. The emerald glow of the lamp is a fading memory, replaced by the soft dark warmth of closed eyelids. The world is a whisper, a sigh, a slow motion dance in the dark. You are safe, you are quiet, you are asleep. The great ship carries you on, a silent guardian, through the trackless wastes, toward a dawn that is still many hours away. For now, there is only the midnight, the silk, and the endless comforting cradle of the sea. The low hum of the engines remains, a steady companion in the void. It is the sound of safety, the sound of progress, the sound of peace. It blankets the room in a layer of acoustic warmth, a sound that you can feel in your bones. It tells you that the world is moving, that time is passing, but that for you, in this moment, everything has stopped. You are in the eye of the storm, the centre of the circle, the heart of the night. Your hands are relaxed, your fingers curled softly against the sheets. Your heart rate has slowed to a calm, steady beat that mirrors the rhythm of the waves. There is no tension left in your body, no stray thoughts in your mind. You are a vessel of peace, sailing on a sea of tranquility. The walnut panels are silent now, the ship has settled, and the night is complete. The moonlight on the porthole glass is a silver coin, a promise of light in the distance, but you do not need it yet. You are content in the dark, in the warmth, in the silence. The journey is long, the sea is vast, and you are perfectly, wonderfully tired. Let the water carry you. Let the ship hold you. Let the night take you, as the final embers of the candle die out, leaving only a thin trail of white smoke that vanishes into the shadows. You slip across the final border. The transition is seamless, a gentle merging of the waking world and the dream world. You are no longer on a ship. You are the ship. You are no longer on the ocean. You are the ocean. You are the rhythm, the sway, and the deep. Deep calm. Sleep now in the heart of the North Atlantic. Sleep in the silk and the walnut. Sleep in the hum of the engines and the sigh of the waves. The world is far away, and you are right where you need to be. Deep, uninterrupted, and timeless sleep. The motion continues, a slow and majestic rocking, a celestial cradle, a celestial cradle. The ship is a whisper in the vastness, and you are the silence within the whisper. Everything is soft, everything is slow, everything is so. Everything is fading into the perfect velvet dark. The walnut grain, the green glass, the red wax, the gold pen, they are all gone now, replaced by the infinite horizon of sleep. You are travelling through the dark, not toward a destination, but toward a deeper state of rest. The water is deep, the air is still, and you are finally, truly, profoundly asleep. Would you like me to describe the gentle morning light as it begins to touch the brass fittings of your cabin? Or perhaps we can move to the quiet library of the ship to explore its leather-bound secrets in the afternoon hush.